Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Mainstream Mondays on Horror Film Lovers. We actually have a horror film for you, for a change. We did Teaching Mrs. Tingle last week, so we're doing I Know What You Did Last Summer, and all I can say is I bet you all were asking, what are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for?
Yes. So, which that is probably the most famous line in the whole movie. In fact, my former roommate, Jackie, and I used to always say that randomly to each other, just because it's sort of funny, but yeah.
So you got hooked by that line?
I did. I got hooked by the whole entire movie. So let's talk about okay, so I've seen this movie, I don't know, a lot of times, probably a little bit more than I've seen Teaching Mrs. Tingle, probably like 15 times or something, or whatever. Because I used to have it. Okay, so I used to record, and I guess this is bad, but I used to record from VHS to VHS, or whatever, copy movies and whatnot. Sorry, shame on me, but VHS movies were expensive back in the day.
They were.
Unless you were lucky to get a used copy from Blockbuster or something, they were $40 to own the movie or something. And
that's nothing. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but that's nothing. I'm being older. I was around when Star Wars came out on VHS. $100. That's just for the very first Star Wars. $100 on VHS.
Was that before they changed anything?
Yeah. It was one of the first films to ever come out on VHS. And they charged $100. No, I don't own any of that stuff. No.
That's worth it. I think that's worth $100. Now, that was $100 back in 80s and 70s or whatever, So I think that's that would be more than, now, that'd be like $200, $300 now. But yeah, it was ridiculous. So yeah, I used to tape it, record it, and I would just watch it over and over again because to me, it's a fun movie from start to finish, it does not have any boringness to it at all. There's nothing that lulls it, nothing that I have to fast forward through, because I used to fast forward through movies I only liked certain scenes on or something, and this was not one of them. I really enjoyed this movie. What about you?
I love it. I watch it every 4th of July, and at times I'll even have the marathon because I got the collection.
Okay.
So, and this is the
Blu-ray or DVD?
It's DVD. And it's the I Know What You Did Last Summer, the collection. It's collection, but the collection.
The collection.
And it's all three films. And they're all, so there's the third one and then the second one. So nice. They're all, yeah. So that's, yeah. I normally have a marathon of all 3 movies because I'm one of those rare people that even likes the third film. So I love this whole series. I haven't seen the TV show. I've heard that new TV show is awful.
I remember watching I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer and actually kind of liking it. So I mean, I remember not liking I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. And so, it'll be interesting to revisit that. But the first I Know What You Did Last Summer is classic to me. So I guess to go into it, I mentioned this earlier with Teaching Mrs. Tingle or whatever, but we're obviously huge Kevin Williamson fans. So when Scream came out and became a massive hit, then I Know What You Did Last Summer came out right after it, and I had to go buy or rent that at the video store and copy that and everything. Then obviously Scream 2 and all the rest of the movies that Kevin did. So when I watched this and I was like, this is really cool, this is fun. I never realized it was originally, I never realized it was Lois Duncan book. or whatever. And we'll get into that stuff in a second, actually, in a little bit. Were you familiar with Lois Duncan as a author, a YA author?
Not until the movie came out. No, I had no idea. I know that she didn't like the movie. The movie has very little to do with the book. I know from what I understand, because the book was in the 70s.
Yeah, even the name Helen Shivers was originally Helen Rivers. I have no idea why they changed that. I could not find any information on why they changed the name from Helen, because everybody else has the same names. So I was hoping that, like, looking back at it, like, everybody would have been changed a little bit or something, but Julie James, Ray Bronson, and what's Ryan Phillippe's character?
Barry.
Barry Cox, I think was his name.
Yeah.
And then that was the name in the book. So it's really weird. I don't know if there was something like maybe there was another a character named Helen Rivers in something else, and they had to change it to Shivers, which
it's a horror movie. Shivers.
I thought so too, but maybe, I was like, that's too on the nose to me. Like, I don't know, just didn't feel right. Let's see. I do want to mention, you mentioned before, Lois Duncan was appalled that it became a slasher. Her original story was a mystery.
And this gets confused with a film from the 80s called I Know What You Did.
Oh. So her youngest
TV
daughter,
movie.
Lois Duncan's youngest daughter, was actually killed by an unknown assailant in 1989. So she was she was appalled by the idea of a slasher film because she did not like the idea of people giggling over murder, and stuff.
But I bet she cashed that check.
And she made another book called Killing Mr. Griffin that we talked about in Teaching Mrs. Tingle. Weirdly enough, where I'm just like, wait, so she's appalled by that stuff now, but when back in the day she wrote this stuff, like, that's,
right,
like, whatever. I can't really get into that stuff. So Kevin Williamson wrote the script pre-Scream, actually, but after Teaching Mrs. Tingle. No one wanted it because slasher films were dead at that time. Probably why you wrote Teaching Mrs. Tingle originally anyway, because he was trying to cash in on what was hip at the time, which was at that time, teen comedies, when Kevin sold Scream and revitalized the slasher genre, Kevin picked it up off the shelf and sent it out to, I think it was Columbia that has it, who bought the rights and made it with Mandalay Pictures, or Mandalay Entertainment, and now it's become a slasher franchise that we will be talking about. Let's see. I think that's it of, like, the background stuff. So I have notes throughout, that I wrote, and this is one of the first times I really, like, sat down and wrote notes while I was watching it, just because I hadn't really seen it in forever. So but and I was by myself, so I figured, why not?
This is one of the few films I didn't have to take notes because I've seen it so many times.
Yeah. So the beginning of the movie, with them going over the water and everything, reminded me a lot of The Lost Boys.
Yeah, let me actually have a story. Let me, and then because it kind of it will segue into that opening. Okay. So and I'll make this fast because it is a little long. So back in the day when I lived in Pasadena, my friend Anthony knew a guy who did all those test screenings. And, they would go out into shopping centers and they would say, hey, you want to go see a movie Tuesday night? And then, if you brought the flyer in and saw the movie, the guy got money for it. So we were always ahead of these people because we knew somebody who, hey, dude, next Friday, this movie's coming out. Do you want to go see it? And then we would get the flyer and then we would go to it. So he had one for I Know What You Did Last Summer. Scream's a massive hit and everything like that. Like, fuck yeah, I want to go. And for some reason, Anthony and I were running late and we were probably on the 405. and because we're heading down into the city, and traffic was all around. And we're like, shit, what do we do? We're going to be late for this movie. And so we're like, wait, the carpool lane. So we hop into the carpool lane. We speed down at 80 miles an hour, find a parking space. As they're closing the door, they still let us in. They take our tickets. We're sitting in the very front row of the movie. And that's when it goes into the ocean that you're talking about the shore and everything. And we're watching the film. It's like, oh, wow, we just made it. Great. And we're watching the film. Halfway through, a Black woman decides to start yelling at the screen. And this is a industry screening. So the producers are there. Critics are there. It's a one of those ones of like word of mouth type of screening. So it comes out like the next week. And this woman starts screaming at the screen. Don't go in there. What are you doing? Stupid. What are you doing? And everybody is yelling at this woman to shut up. And she stands up, puts her back to the screen. This is while the movie's going on, going, I have a God-given right to yell at that movie screen if I want to. And everybody's like, boo, sit down, idiot. Boo, shut up, sit down. She's like, how dare you tell me to sit down? And all of a sudden security, people from the studio, the screening, she's like right in the middle, come and grab her. And she's like, okay, I'll be quiet. And then she sits down. Everybody cheers. And now we can finish the rest of the movie. I've never seen this in my life. Excuse me. I only thought this happened in movies or spoofs or something like that. I have been in films before where people will yell at the screen, but nothing like this, where she actually stood up, faced the crowd, and said it's her God-given right to yell at the screen. And it was just, and I've never experienced it before or afterwards. And that would kind of be my experience with I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is probably one of the reasons why I like it, is because I had such a bizarre experience with this movie.
That's funny. That's like, which scene was she yelling at?
It was just like one of the murders, or probably when Sarah Michelle Gellar is getting chased or something, like where she's where all the tires are. And she'd be like, don't run in there. Don't run in there, girl. Run away, girl. Oh, what are you stupid? Run away. And everybody's just like, shut up. I love
how she says God-given right, because it's also their God-given right to escort her out.
Yes.
Know what I mean?
And I remember that expressly. I remember her saying, it's my God-given right to yell at the screen.
Yeah. No, I think when God was giving out rights, I don't think that particular right was specifically stated. Like in the 10 Commandments, I don't think this is like thou shalt yell at screens if you feel like it.
Right. Which can be funny at times, if you're watching a bad movie and people kind of yell at the screen, it can be fun, but not at this. I mean, this is a industry screening,
Well, also, yeah, okay. So when we do Indie Film Cafe, Paul and I will generally talk and we'll say stuff or whatever. And usually it's, why do they do that? That's stupid or whatever, right? Like we MST3K it maybe. That's fine. When you're doing a home preview of the movie, when you're out in public, I just went to see, you asked me earlier, I went to see Morbius in the theater. And I remember this. So I was watching it and I forgot what mistake they made, but they made some stupid fucking thing. And I actually said something out loud. And then as I said it, I go, I am so used to like watching everything by myself. And I had not been in the theater for like a month. And so I just totally forgot, like, I'm not alone, So I was like, oh, shut the fuck up, John. Just shut the fuck up. And, and maybe, maybe if people yelled at me, I would be like, that's my God-given right. No, I wouldn't have done that.
I mean, sometimes you can't help it, but it's
Well,
It's
if you notice that you fucked up like that, you just own it and you go, oops, sorry. And you slink back in your chair. You don't own it like that and say, fuck you guys. I'm allowed to say this because technically you're not, like.
no, I mean, I guess you could exercise your First Amendment rights, sure, but then that means that you're going to get kicked out of the theater.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
100%.
So, yeah, because I was saying the way that this kind of fits into what you were saying is that's when we got into the theater, the credits were already going, the camera was already floating over the water and on the mountains and everything. And that's when we entered the movie was that scene, when it comes up on the guy on the cliff.
And it was very Lost Boise, that's what I thought of.
Well, and the song too. Yeah, the song was, which was typo
like
negative.
Yeah. They should have done that. That would have been cool if they had the thou shall not, whatever, and that, but with typo negative.
I know what you did. Last summer.
Yeah, last summer. So, all right. So, yeah. So that was one thing I noticed when I was doing it. I was like, this seemed like very Lost Boys. Okay. So I used to watch Roseanne a lot, and I love Johnny Galecki. And I know you probably hate a lot of these sitcoms like Big Bang Theory and
I love Big Bang Theory.
Oh, you love the Big Bang Theory.
I love Big Bang Theory.
I just love Johnny Galecki, period. And I actually liked him as Max. It was really neat to see him in the movie.
I don't mind him. I don't understand why Max is so angry. I mean, I guess he has a thing for Julie, but at the same time, when he's being rude, he also knows that she's dating Ray, Freddie Prinze Jr. So it's like, I don't know.
There was a little awkwardness to him, like,
yeah, it's like she's with Ray. You're not going to just, especially with him pressuring her to like go out to dinner to say goodbye, which is kind of creepy.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a big thing with it was probably trying to throw you off because it becomes like Scream where you don't know who the killer is, right?
Yeah, maybe he's the killer.
Trying to make you think he's the killer. That's why he gets killed first. So we know, okay, this guy's not the killer, but they might still think he's the killer.
But why is he killed? I mean, he was there. He drove by.
That's the only thing I could think of.
Because he thought that Barry was throwing up.
But
so why was he killed?
But to Ben Willis, he might not have. He might have seen him somehow. I don't even know how he saw him. So I wanted to ask because I've always been confused with this story. Even though as much as I love this movie, I've always been confused. So the camera at the very beginning, it goes over the water. We see the young guy up on the rock. He's got the coin thing that he keeps doing this to that turns. And then he sees all the fireworks, right? And then that goes to them, with Ray and all that. Mm-hmm. So that is the guy who we later find out was in the car accident that killed Ben Willis's daughter. So did Ben Willis kill that guy? Or did he who's I have it up here. What's his name? His name is David Egan.
David. So did Ben Willis kill Ben, or did Ben commit suicide?
Wait, hold on. You're saying did David commit suicide?
Or David, I mean, yeah.
Okay, hold on.
David.
I think this is what I got from the movie. So it's not very clear because for the longest time I was confused as fuck.
I'm still confused.
So I think I finally figured it out, right? So what happened was David went up there to kill himself. He was going to kill himself, commit suicide. That was the plan because even what's her name, his sister actually says that she thought there was a suicide, right? And stuff, right. And that's where that place was exactly where the whole shebang happened. So he went to the road to go commit suicide. Ben Willis found him, killed him because he was so upset because there's one point where she's like, you have, you know, David had a tattoo of Susie on his arm, and that wasn't David, that was Ben. Ben had the
Right.
tattoo. So they accidentally killed Ben, or whatever. They thought they killed him.
Killed. Yeah.
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 So they ran a guy over. They thought, so they dumped the guy in the river or whatever, in the ocean. And it turns out, and then he grabs, and so he's not dead. Oh my God, this guy's not dead. Like, right? That guy could easily have gone to the police and said, I got attacked by these people, or whatever. But he didn't. He wanted to go kill them because he was the one who killed their brother, because they found his brother in the lake, or her brother is in the lake, or the caught somewhere and stuff. And that's who because they found the what is it? The newspaper had said David Egan was found, and that started that whole thing. So,
well, you're saying a lake or the ocean?
Whatever, ocean, lake, whatever the fuck.
Okay.
The ocean.
I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. So the accident happened a year prior. David went up to commit suicide. He's flipping the coin thing. Then Ben went up to the same spot, because that's where the accident happened, found David, threw him off the edge of the cliff to make it look like suicide, kept the coin thing because he has it at the end. As he's walking down, I guess, because there's a bar, he then gets hit by Ray and all them in the car.
Yes.
So, and then they throw him in the water, obviously, which is weird. Of why would we think it's so? They do all this investigating, and like they go to Anne Heche, who's the sister of David, which makes no sense to me because it doesn't serve any purpose. You could remove Anne Heche, and it doesn't change the movie at all.
It does, because we don't. Once again, that became clear that it wasn't David. The whole time they think it's David that they killed, right? Because that was who.
Well, she does have the note that's oddly kept in like a shed that just happens to be right next to them, instead of her going,
like wondering,
it's in the house up in a box. Why was it in the shed right next to them?
Well, she said she tried to hide it. She hid it.
I think it's because they didn't want to shoot that. I think they just said, shit, let's just shoot it all here. And they did. It's less, time. It's very convenient.
Yeah.
That it was there. But if you look at because they keep thinking it's David. Okay. So we fully see what the guy looks like on the mountain or on the cliff. Then we see the guy that they hit. We see, even though this is covered in blood, we see his eyes and everything in the water. It's clearly not David. It's somebody else. It's an older guy.
Right.
So, okay, do the audience, do we know that it's not David, but just Julie and them don't?
I was so confused. I always thought it might have been David, for the longest time, until I started watching it today going, okay, I get it now. Like, I get that it wasn't David. There was Susie is her father. So he probably put a tattoo on him after her death.
Right. Yeah.
So that, to remember her by or whatever. And then that year later.
Why does everybody walk around in the slickers and stuff? I mean, I get that it's a fishing town, but David up on the mountain, he's got like in like his fishing gear, and then they hit Ben Willis and he's in his fishing gear. Why is he just not dressed in like blue jeans, boots, and like a shirt? Why is everybody in? Because Julie holds up the boot, like the slicker boot.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so is this just every single, I mean, you're not going to go outside and see like a bunch of people walking around in their McDonald's uniform. It's kind of weird that, I get maybe at the parade that she sees everybody in the slickers and stuff, because maybe they're taking time off work to go look at the parade.
Right.
But, it just, some of this stuff just doesn't make sense to me. And I always thought this was meant to be an urban legends film, because they do talk about urban legends when they're
I wrote
when
that
they're
down.
on Dawson's Beach,
Which
and
I also wrote down.
and of course they're everybody's getting the urban legend wrong, but this really isn't an urban legend really until the second movie, because that's when he loses his hand and gets the hook.
No. He lost his hand at the end of this movie.
At the end of this one, but it's embedded in his hand in like the second movie.
Yeah, because it said even though they ended, well, let's see, hold on, wait.
Where's urban legend? I never
so
understood why are they bringing up urban.
Ben Willis loses his hand, which at the end he would actually have the hook for hand, right? Like that's what I always thought. Anyway,
so I think it's okay. They're talking about urban legends and everything in the hook, and okay, well the guy's got the hook. I mean, it's right there on the box too. Well, so it's like, okay, but how does this story work with the urban legend of the body hanging over the car and you know the hook and the.
Well, he says at one point, Freddie Prinze Jr. says, no, this is sort of based on like a real instant, and the instant that he's talking about, and even that cop at one point who, what the fuck was he? Why did he have her in the back of the car? Like, what was the whole point of that other than the fact that she was trapped? You know, like which is
he was that. A lot of that doesn't make sense. So she's on the stage. We see Barry. Barry gets pulled back by the fisherman, right? And killed, I guess. This is the lightest R rating. I mean, is this film rated R? Yeah, it's the lightest R rating I've ever seen in my life. There's literally no blood in this movie. And all the deaths are like off screen. And he gets pulled back. I guess he gets killed. And then the fisherman somehow gets him down the stairs, across the road, down the dock, and put into his boat in the ice area. Nobody questions this. So then when Helen, Sarah Michelle Gellar, who I absolutely love beyond belief, I like her more than Jennifer Love, Buffy and everything. I just love her. Then when she is panicking, it's weird. She goes into the audience and everybody's trying to hold her. Like there's a mob of people around her. And she's like, get the fuck off me. Why are you holding me? And she says it to like people, and then the cop shows up. And I'm looking at this going, why is everybody holding her? Is this the panicky girl, the panicky woman type of thing? That why? I mean, if she's going, there's somebody was just murdered up there. Why is everybody holding her back? Yeah. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And then the sheriff thinks, that she's just the hysterical woman. Yeah. And it sort of should have been like, in Scream 2, when what's the girl's name? Jada Pinkett. Jada Pinkett. Perfect timing for me to talk about her. But she goes up and she's like holding herself in the theater and everything. She's got her like arm around her and she's screaming, and everybody's staring at her, but like they're like kind of shocked. Well, they think it's part of the show. You're right. At first, and then they realize, and they don't kind of like, what I mean? I think it should have been sort of like that, where the girl's panicking and everything. Everybody's just like staring at her, like, "Why are you panicking? What is going on?" It's like the filmmakers said, "Well, we can't have her go upstairs yet." Right. So everybody hold her back, and then the cop will go up and say, "Well, see, there's nothing here." And then we see like the blood dribbling a little bit. And then he's like, look, I'll take you home. For some reason, the hook got up again for the urban legend. And then he sees the fisherman fixing the truck. And she panics, and the fisherman, kills the cop. And which I also thought was kind of weird, because then why not just kill her when the cop's not there? But but also, like, that guy went through a lot of fucking trouble, because remember he blocked off a certain way so that he would have to go down this road, so that he would have to go and
he stopped by, you know what I mean? Like there's so much.
The only thing I could think of with that is either he did a lot of work to get that cop car to go down that road, or maybe it was blocked off because of the parade.
I don't even know. It didn't even look blocked off. I was just like, what is going on here?
Oh, there's one of those road block things.
Okay, I didn't even notice.
It's at the side of the screen, and he goes, "Oh, dark. Well, yeah, we're gonna have to take the the alleyway," and right. But yeah, I mean that's it, because then the fisherman then had to find a truck, it's his own truck, to kind of park out in the street. He got a lamp that he hooked up, so he had to find electricity. He did. There was a lot of work to go in to try and kill her. And I like that whole scene. I like her. I think this is well directed. I thought it was well shot. I thought it was well directed and well edited.
Who did it? It was like Jim Gillespie or something.
Yeah. Who hasn't really done that much, oddly. And I like her going down the alleyways. I mean, if you look, she's barefoot throughout most of this. So they must have put something on the bottom of her feet, like that wax that they give actors. And I like her getting killed in the tires. But once again, nobody is killed violently. Like they're killed violently, but we don't see it. Why is this film rated R? It should really be PG-13. And it says strong horror, violence, and language for its R rating. Okay, I get the language.
The language, I think, is probably really what pushed it to R. The violence was very minimal. And I don't know why. Because this could have been easily a PG-13 remake, movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's really weird of how there's no violence. Like, it's kind of like when people say how violent the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is, and you don't see it. It's all in your head. But this, I mean, I don't want to compare the two really, but it's like, wow. I mean, there's no, even when Helen runs to the department store. Oh, and why is Helen's sister such a bitch? Why is she so horrible?
Just so that when she dies, like the audience can cheer, I guess.
Well, I mean, and this kind of goes back to teaching Miss Tingle is, if you don't like where you are, move. If you don't like the job you have, find another one. So Miss Tingle, she was pissed because all these students could leave and go become lawyers and doctors, and she's stuck in her hometown and she's a teacher. If you don't like it, leave. There's nothing stopping you from working at another high school if you want to continue being a teacher. In this case, with Helen's sister, who's Bridget Wilson, you're obviously, this town's thriving because it's a fishing town. It looks like a successful store. It's a family store. So when the dad, for some reason, who ignores everybody, dies, one of them is going to get the store, and it's probably going to be the older sister. Okay, if you don't like your life and you want to get out of the fishing town and you don't want to work at the family store, leave. Why is she such a bitch to her? It doesn't make any sense, because also Bridget Wilson is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's not like she couldn't have been like, I would get it if she weren't that attractive or something. Like, it made her look bad, and she was like jealous of Helen,
Exactly. Yeah.
But there was no reason to be jealous of Helen because Bridget Wilson, Sampras, who played Elsa, I think was her name.
Elsa.
Right?
Yeah.
She's just drop dead gorgeous. I had a huge crush on her too growing up. Billy Madison and
Mortal Kombat. She was in the first Mortal Kombat, where she just kicked ass.
Yeah. I've always been like, I always loved her, and when I saw her in this, I was like, oh my god! And then just sort of like, she's sort of a throwaway character. It's sort of like, okay, like I said, I think it's literally because she's such a bitch, so that the audience can go, okay, I hope that character dies. And when she dies, you feel okay.
Yeah, because it's as Helen is running to the store and the fisherman is walking behind her, she's banging on the door going, let me in. And then Elsa is walks to it, then she's like, oh, the keys. And then she's still knocking, hitting on the door, and then she comes and unlocks it, and she's like, well, what is your problem? And she's like, I'm being attacked. And it's like, I'm sorry, if I saw somebody, even if I was a total asshole and they were bashing on the door, she could have been raped. Yeah. So this is your own sister who might be running away from a rapist, or in this case, a murderer, and you don't give a shit. I would have felt, I would have felt more bad if she was actually a nice person, instead of being this total bitch to the sister. And so when she did die, I didn't care. I maybe Ellen didn't care either, because she was such a horrible human being.
You asked earlier, why did Max die, right? And it's the same thing. He's like a total asshole to all the people around him, and then he died, you know? And it's sort of like, and he had no reason, like, other than for them to find his body in the trunk at one point, which she found. And okay, let's talk about that real quick, because that bothered me. The fact that she went up to go get, both the two friends or whatever, Helen and Barry.
Yeah,
and
Barry.
She brings them down. She brings them down, and then everything is gone from her trunk.
Well, and that's the thing. So I'll start a little further back. So when I said that there was a shot that I liked, one, I liked how I Know What You Did Last Summer was shot. But there's one shot that's great, is when Julie is on the phone and the camera's outside the house, and she's going to go to Helen, and the camera follows her from the outside window all the way down, and Julie leaves the front door, and then she gets into her car and leaves. It's actually a really nice shot. And then that's when she hears the stuff in the back. Yes, and I'm going to agree with you with this. Do you know how much time it would take to clean that trunk and put everything back in it absolutely perfectly? I mean, there were a lot of crabs in there, because is Ben following them?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like, I got that he's following them. I don't even see what the point of fixing everything up was. Like, she should have opened up the trunk, and they see the dead body and go, oh my God, and then close the trunk again. Because, like, the only other thing I can think of is that maybe when Kevin Williamson was writing it, he was going, okay, if we have them, find the stuff in the trunk, they would just go to the police or something. Actually, it can't go to the police, because then how they explain that there's a dead body in the trunk,
Okay, right. So I'm going to jump forward with that for a second, and then we can circle back. At the very end, when the fisherman, he gets his arm pulled off, he falls in the water, or his hand pulled off, falls in the water, all that. The sheriff goes up to Ray and Julie and goes, do you have any idea why this guy would want to try to murder you? There's like 20 police guys on the boat. Did you not walk into the room where there's 100 articles about them, about his daughter, about the car accident and the guy committing suicide, he has all these articles about them in photographs.
And
no police person found any of that.
Yeah.
That tells you right there.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. And then on top of that, like, does it even matter at that point? Because it's just like, this dude if you go into the boat, you see all these dead bodies in there. This dude is a multi-murderer, like a multiple murderer. So
so that means, also then, like he had to do with Barry, he'd have to do this same thing with Helen. So he kills her in the tire stacks. He would then maybe put her on his shoulder or something, and would have to walk her all the way back to his boat and then throw her into the ice. And that's another thing at the very end, is when she thinks Ray, which by the way goes back to Scream, how, Sydney thinks her boyfriend is the killer and runs away from him. In this, of course, Julie thinks Ray's the killer. and runs away from him. And then Ben Willis, knocks him out. All he says is, go get on the boat. What boat? There's 20 boats. He doesn't say, go to the boat that says the Sunrise, or go to boat on dock 55. He just goes, go to the boat. How does she know what boat to go to?
I know.
He's at the very end of the dock. But it's
go ahead.
Oh, no. I was done.
Okay, so it started making me think about this, because like there's some interesting stuff in there, but like I was trying to think of the way that I described it. So there was it has so many like little problems to it, that sort of don't make any sense now, that I'm just like, why? But there was that you were mentioning, it goes back to Scream, right? The boyfriend and everything was kind of blamed, and Julie is very much Sydney. Funny that they're both on Party of Five. So
yeah,
interesting. But what is it? Julie is basically, she's dealt with the secret that she can't tell anybody, and it kind of is eating her. The guilt is eating her up, and she's a bitch to her mom. Her roommate seems to like just want her out, and stuff. And her roommate was like the stereotypical black girl of that, of that time. It's either Kevin Williamson didn't know how to write a black chick, or it just felt like like didn't feel right. But anyway, there should have been a line that, because I always felt like there was going to be a line in there where how Freddie Prinze Jr. wants to like give her a hug, and she's kind of like whatever, and and was it in Scream, Billy looks over at Sydney and is like, wait, you don't still think it's me, do you? And has that scene in the in the school where he's talking to her about it and everything. It felt like there could have been a scene like that with them like going, well, you don't think it's me, do you? Like I wouldn't do anything like this. Like, what I mean? Like
in a way they kind of do, when they all go over to Ray's house thinking it's him.
Yeah.
Because he owns a slicker.
Yeah, because he owns a slicker. Because like, I'm like thinking, why would he do this anyway? Like whatever gave you thought that he'd be a murderer or whatever.
And why are any of these people friends at all?
That's true.
I mean, it's like, I was trying to think about it, and I'm like, well, maybe Helen is dating Barry because she likes abusive men, because her dad ignores her. And she has the abusive sister. So maybe she's just used to being around abusive people. So she dates a guy who's abusive. But then I don't know why any of them would be friends with Barry unless Julie was friends with Helen. Then she started dating Barry, and they just kind of deal with it. Because even, like Freddie Prinze Jr., Ray, he's not, and I'm sorry, I keep going on about being a man, but he's not very manly. He's, other than Barry is more manly.
And
yeah,
why? How does he change from being like, he was supposed to be going to school in New York for like philosophy or something, or some kind of like, she makes some joke about how he's going to go off to college and be on his laptop, speaking eloquently, into his laptop. And I'm like thinking, wait a minute. So where does he go from going to New York and being in coffee shops and everything to now all of a sudden being a fisherman? Like, other than the fact that they want to give you that, what's it called? Where you throw the people off track. Oh,
I know what it's well, not a red herring.
It's a red herring.
Or just a misdirection.
Right.
Is what I was trying to think of.
You want to throw him off, and you're like, the red herring being like, okay, we're going to make him be a fisherman so that people go, oh my God, it could be Ray, but it could very well in the beginning be Barry, he's very violent. He's very scary until he gets attacked, and I do love the line in the movie where he's like, I got a letter. He's like, oh, you got a letter. Julie gets, crabs in her, or gets a dead body in her trunk. Helen gets her hair chopped off. I get ran over and you got a letter. That's balanced. And that's a great line because it's sort of true. Like, like that's how somebody would react. Like, you got a letter, like you're now bringing this up, like, what I mean? So I got it. I got what they're trying to do, but in this same sense, it just felt like, why are you making another Scream when you could have just made a slasher like Jason, where all of a sudden who the killer is and he's coming after you, and you can't do anything about it.
Well, that's why I kind of brought that stuff up at the beginning with David and Ben. Is the guy on the rock is not in the water. So are we supposed to know that this is not David? But but our characters don't.
See, what they could have done is, you're right. They could have just cut out the whole Heche stuff, right? Because it does kind of take some time out of it. Like they go, Helen and Julie both go out to see, this is, if they did it independently, they would have done that. They would have taken all that out because it's just not needed. And it just makes more time that just kind of gets kind of boring at times. Like,
because what is the point of going out to Missy's play? What does it serve that we get the note, as you pointed out, but that's it? Otherwise, I mean, she does give us some information.
But why does she have a note that says, I'll like something about knowing what
because Ben wrote the note and gave it to David.
Oh,
so that actually might have been the first note.
I didn't even get
because that's all his handwriting.
Yeah.
So that is probably the very first note, but it was a year prior.
And it was a year prior, and it was to David, and David kept that note?
Yeah, for plot convenience, sure.
Well, also, he never mind, because what probably happened was he got the note, he felt sorry for what he did, right? David did. So that's why he went up to that spot to kill himself. That.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, Anne Heche did say that the whole town hated him.
Right. So he felt terrible, and Ben sort of pushed him to that edge, and then literally pushed him off the edge. And then, instead of...
We are filling in a lot of gaps, which we shouldn't have to do.
We shouldn't have to do, but like, to me, that's kind of cool, when you can mention that stuff, because then it makes you think about it, so he goes off and murders that guy. Then he gets run over, tragically, for himself, but he's still alive. Irony. You actually use that word right, sir. There you go. It was the exact opposite of what you would or wouldn't expect. So anyway, they pick him up and they take him over to the thing, and he's not really dead. He's alive. So then they throw him into the thing.
But do we even need the stuff with David?
What do you mean?
Is the David subplot even necessary? So the kids are at the beach. They're drinking. They're going too fast up on the road. Ben is up there for whatever reason. Maybe he's taking a walk. Maybe he's fishing. Maybe he's doing something. They hit him. They throw him into water. A year later, they start getting notes.
That's true.
Is the David stuff really even necessary to the plot? Because Ben is not killing them because of David. Ben is killing them because they left him for dead. If they took him to the hospital, then maybe none of this would have happened.
Yeah. Well, if they called the cops or the ambulance and had them pick him up, none of this may have happened either, you know? Like, and they wouldn't have probably gotten in trouble, especially if he were alive, you know? Like, if you were never killed, they never would have gotten in trouble over this, you know?
Well, yeah, because
they might have got a slap on the wrist and told, because it was an accident, and stuff.
Well, yeah, and Ray's like, they'll never believe that I was driving. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're the guy who's driving the drunk guy and you're like, give me your keys, then that's,
The only thing I can think of is like, he did mention that there's alcohol all over the car and stuff. So, because of fucking Barry, like partying.
Once again, why are they friends?
I don't know, but he like drops the alcohol, which causes the whole wreck, the thing to happen. So it's like, it's so funny to like look back at this movie and and like kind of just digress it, like talk about it, tell everybody.
It almost sounds like we don't like the movie, but I love the movie.
I know it's still but see, here's the thing. Remember, you talked a lot about Teaching Miss Tingle. You didn't like it. I still enjoyed it. There's problems with this movie and I still enjoy it. I don't know. It feels like somebody's second film script, and it was, it was literally probably was, I would imagine, and he might have done something else and never got that made. You know what I mean? But Kevin Williamson wrote this early in his career, and then he was like, now people want slashers again, so maybe people will buy this. Somebody bought it because of Kevin Williamson's name on it. Didn't matter. It could have been poop on a stick. It has Kevin Williamson's name on it, and he's hot right there.
Sure.
So let's go make this movie.
Well, it happened with Tarantino and all that stuff. He wrote like 4 or 5 scripts before anything was ever made. And then once Reservoir Dogs, especially Pulp Fiction, was a hit, all of a sudden all of his are getting produced.
Well, no. It was actually before then. So he wrote True Romance, he wrote something before then called My Best Friend's Birthday, which they shot like some of it, it was basically his directing school. And you can actually see that on YouTube, by the way. It's interesting. But then he took stuff from that, made True Romance. He wrote True Romance, Natural Born Killers, and Reservoir Dogs all at the same time, right? Could not get any of them made for a while. Then Tony Scott bought True Romance. He also wanted Reservoir Dogs, but Quentin Tarantino was like, I want Reservoir Dogs because I want to do it myself because it's the one I can do the cheapest, And then Oliver Stone's company bought Natural Born Killers, and then they made Reservoir Dogs because True Romance was made in 93. Well, probably shot earlier than that, but came out in 93 after Reservoir Dogs came out and everything. And then Pulp Fiction came out in 94. So he was already sort of, but he had already sold his scripts, and stuff, and was very lucky, and then he was going to sell Reservoir Dogs, but they were like, let's make it, like we could actually get this made.
Well, that was a Sundance thing. So Reservoir Dogs was totally Sundance.
Yep. So
you
there
shot
you go.
Through their lab at Sundance. So.
I saw that. I saw his short version of it, which wasn't great, but like just because he was like, I think he was Mr. Orange and stuff or something or whatever, and he just was not right for that. He was great as Mr. Brown. Let's just say that, But anyway, to go back to Kevin Williamson's script for I Know What You Did Last Summer, I think it could have been a lot better. But all in all, for somebody's like second script that they got out there or whatever, it was definitely, it's better than Teaching Mrs. Tingle. So I will say that. I'll admit that, as you said, it's very much well directed, by Jim Gillespie.
Yeah, I thought he did a good job.
Yeah. It would have been interesting to see somebody like Wes Craven or of that caliber of like horror, filmmaker do it. But I liked it, very fun. I don't know.
Well, and this just has a good cast. I mean, it's I think that it's smart to have Jennifer Love Hewitt in it, and Sarah Michelle Gellar, who's of course Scream 2, she's Cece, and then
Oh, and I wanted to point that out. That's true. Did you think about it, like when you see Helen jumping out of or whatever, falling out of the window? It reminded me of Scream 2, where she fell out of a fucking window. Scream 2, she died, but in this one she survived or whatever. Maybe they did that.
Well, yeah, she fell on garbage. Yeah, but then she still dies. Yeah.
Well, she dies later.
Yeah,
but she doesn't die from the fall. In Scream 2, she died from the fall, or whatever, because she's like thrown off or whatever. So I was wondering if they did that on purpose, of like adding to see where she just get thrown out of the window and then dies, because you're thinking, oh, it's the girl from I Know What You Did Last Summer. She survived the last time. She'll get up. No, she didn't.
She gets splatted on the ground.
I know. Which you were saying you like her more than Jennifer Love Hewitt, I guess.
I love Sarah Michelle Gellar. I absolutely, would probably be in like my top 5. I mean, she is. I really like her. I just think that she's gorgeous, and she's amazing looking in the film The Return. That she's just gorgeous, and just Buffy and all these films, and I like that she married Freddie Prinze Jr. I think is cool, and they kind of just left Hollywood and they just do voice work now. So
was it Freddie Prinze Jr. is into wrestling?
Oh, is it that? I don't know. I don't know a lot about them. I just know it's kind of the basics, but yeah, I just like her. I could kind of watch almost anything with her in it. So, I mean, like, she's gorgeous in the Stone Temple Pilots video, and it's just, So it's just, I love her. That she's one of my favorite parts of Scream 2.
Right.
That she's in it. So that to me might be one of the reasons why it's tied with Scream 4 with me. If she wasn't in it, probably Scream 4 would be my favorite.
Okay. There you go. So honestly, all in all, I really enjoy it. It's one movie I can watch over and over, and I probably, like I said, I think I've probably seen it 15 times, maybe more. I don't know. I can't remember, but I do remember watching this over and over again because I had it on VHS, and I am one of those people that if I like something, I watch it over and over and over again until I get kind of sick of it, or I used to do that a lot more. I don't do it as much anymore because I don't have time, to like keep rewatching the same things. I have to watch different shit all the time now, but it is something I still really enjoy. I actually like your idea of watching it like during 4th of July. It seems like a perfect kind of 4th of July movie. So maybe next year I'll watch it during 4th of July, I won't watch it again this year.
It's not a bad, because I don't think, where does the second one, does the second one also take place on 4th of July? Just on the island?
Maybe. Was it 1 year later?
I don't think she's in college anymore.
Huh. You know what?
Or maybe she is in college, but Brandy's her roommate.
But the ending.
But the third one does 4th of July. It does say
the ending has the 1 year later thing. However, it does it differently than Faculty and Teaching Mrs. Tingle.
Once again, why are we getting this 1 year later thing when it serves no purpose to anything at all? And it doesn't match to the sequel.
Did you ever notice Scream never did that? Like, I don't know. Is that like?
Thank God.
Well, I think that's maybe that was originally a thing, was like maybe in Scream, it did have like a 1 year later thing. And Wes Craven's like, we don't need it. Like, we can just cut it at, it's almost like, in Clerks, the original cut had like Dante getting shot. And,
Right. Yeah, shot and killed.
they
Yeah.
cut that. Yeah, they cut that because it was a downer and nobody liked it. And then they just have him say, you're closed, right? In Scream, like, it just ends with them pulling out. But if it had like a 1 year later and you see like Sydney getting another ghost face or something, it would almost kill the movie, I think.
Yeah, because this one out of a lot of these doesn't make sense. So, okay, now she's in college, she's dating Ray, she's going to take a shower and the place is all steamed up. And she's on the phone with Ray doing the obnoxious, I love you. No, you love me more. Oh, no, I love you. No, you love me, but really kind of annoying. And then the girl comes in and says, hey, you have a letter, which is oddly written exactly the same way that Ben Willis's handwriting is, but that's our misdirection, and it ends up being the party invite. But then when she goes back and said, and I was trying to look closely, like, did they add this effect in later? Like, is this the glass and then the glass breaking is one effect and then having the fisherman come out of it is another effect? Because how would he come out of a mirror that's against the wall?
I don't know.
Unless this is a dream.
It was the Carrie moment, at the end of Carrie.
But that was a dream.
Right.
She wakes up screaming in bed after that. This, we don't get Julie doing that. So it's like, okay, so if this is a dream, Julie dreams about herself in the shower.
I think about her in the shower.
Well, so do I. And I, but I don't know. I don't often dream about myself in the shower. So it's just, obviously it's the sequel ending, but it's a weird sequel ending because maybe he should have been in the shower. She leaves the room. He comes, she comes back, and then he takes the hook and goes down from the shower.
That and then she goes, how it is, but
instead of him busting through a mirror like Freddy Krueger. It's kind of weird.
All of it is sort of weird. I don't know. It's such a strange little thing. But anyway, whatever. It's done. It's over. We've talked about this movie. We've had like an hour of it, and I think that's enough. I appreciate you coming on once again. I'll let everybody know that the next 2 weeks are going to be I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, and I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. Yep. The next two movies on here. We've decided that's going to be the next two ones. So I'm excited because it's been so long since I've seen I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, and I absolutely remember hating it with like a passion.
See, now we might be flipped, is because now you might hate it, and I know I'm going to like it.
Yeah. So and you may. Well, you already know because you have seen it, Or
I watch it.
You watch it all the time.
I basically, every 4th of July, I tend to watch all three.
I may hate it, but I also may like it. I may change my mind. I don't know. It's been so long. I don't even remember it. All I remember is they're on an island. That's all I remember. And
well, that's what I like about all three of these. Is I like that the first one is in the fishing town. So it's a great location for a slasher film. The second one is on the island, like that tropical island with the storm, which I thought was pretty good. I like that. Totally different location. And then the third one is at the ski resort.
Yeah.
And, different places. And I like that.
You like that kind of stuff. So
I love taking things out of their environment. Yeah. I think it's awesome.
Well, we'll see how I feel about it when I watch it. But until then, thank you guys for checking this out. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Tell us what you think. If you liked I Know What You Did Last Summer, did you think that some of the stuff that we said was true, or do you guys have any feelings on that? And to have a nice one. Bye, everybody.
Bye.